After his quest to retrieve the orb and the sceptre, the rightful ruler has returned. But all is not well in the city of Irsmuncast nigh Edge, for an army of foes, spawn of the rift, have risen up and assaulted the city. Not only that, but rumour has it they are marshalled by one ancient foe, an old enemy. Sorcerak, the leader of the Legion of the Sword of Doom, has brought death and destruction to this fair city, and it is up to the ruler to defend it. But he is no mere mortal politician. This is Avenger. He is ninja, and he follows the way of the tiger. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in quality. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more of The Way of the Tiger. Now, last time I ran into an auto kill, and in all fairness I kind of saw it coming and voiced some concerns. It looked like the kind of long shot that was an all or nothing. And it turned out to be absolutely nothing. Now, I've taken a quick look at the earlier portions of the book, and actually, I couldn't have handled things much better than I did. There is one option to avoid fighting patrol that involves going down into the dungeons through the secret passage in the throne room, by rushing straight down the stairs before the troll has time to arrive. However, this leaves us then partially blinded and suffering a -1 modifier to all modifiers until the banquet with the minstrel. It is possible in that route to pay attention to some obvious guidance which will give you a piece of useful information and lead to you fighting the troll with your reduced modifiers. Not ideal. And even if you avoid the troll and rush through the catacombs, you still have to handle a few dice rolls to deal with the Dark Elves, get past the trolls into the fortress, and take out the Dark Elf Sorceress. There's 1 or 2 dice rolls there. There's a fate roll, I think, with a -1 modifier because you got the penalty. So,
And and honestly, following the guidance in that section ends up with you having to fight the troll, and it doesn't really tell you anything you couldn't have worked out for yourself anyway. So I handled that pretty well. There is a useful item that can be gained during that path if you have the skill of Yubijutsu, which I do not have. In fact, someone commented on the last video how it would have been nice if I'd had that item. I can't get that item on this playthrough, so that's okay. So essentially what I'm saying is, to get to this point here, after the troll fight, there's no change in health, no change in resources, apart from the 1 point of inner force that is spent, right? So essentially, apart from maybe not using inner force against the troll, and in all honesty, my defense against the troll is so low that using inner force just makes a lot of sense, it would be very easy for me to just turn up at this spot with the same numbers again. 1 ninja star thrown against the troll, 1 against the dark elf commander, 1 against the dark elf sorceress. 1 point of inner force used against the troll, 1 used against the dark elf commander to make the ninja star do the job. But essentially, it would be very easy to get back to this point without having to roll any dice. Well, I mean, it would be a bit harder, but yeah. So I'm going to be picking up back at section 121 at the banquet. And at this point, I'm going to be referring to the printed French version with the colour illustrations, because you may observe that over the next few sections, the words that emerge from my mouth and the words that appear on the screen will be significantly different. So, we are at section 121. This is divided into paragraphs. We have a new paragraph here. Not here, but here. When he finishes the minstrelsy. There. Right. So he sung a song of the Orb of Kings, which we have and are wearing openly in our eye socket. You thank Fidelio for his help and send word that you will call a council of war in the morning. We now have new text. When you retire to the royal bedchamber, the words of Fidelio's ballad of the Orb of Kings are running around and around your head. Do you already have the power to see invisible beings? If so, turn to 157. If not, turn to 141. Here, we only have 141 available. Let's go to 157 and observe the difference. This is an auto-kill section. Let's ignore that. But I suspect that if there are duplicate or similar auto-kills which can be reached from multiple points, it may have been possible to remove this one as it coincides with another and just redirect it to the other one. It is clear that Fidelio matched his words to his audience, for he could not miss the polished emerald eye that swivels in your head in time with your natural one. Was his dedication a warning or a threat? You rest that night with caution, but no ruffians disturb your sleep when you walk into the War Council in the morning to address the peril facing Irsmuncast. Turn to 131. Now, this will be a different section, because when we arrived at the council in the morning, they commented on our eyes. The War Council consists of Antocitus for one eye. Okay, so I think it was you arrive, they go, oh my god, look at your eye, and then we get redirected here. 131. we are back on track. So what could have happened with section 157 is the section, the last little paragraph at the end of 121, I think that was section 141, right? Or part of it. So we could have like condensed it, collapsed a section into there, and then the other one could have gone to wherever that came from. Anyway, so we have the Council of War, we have no samurai bodyguard, and then everyone gives their advice. Interestingly, the new sections were not listed. We asked Solstice to help. Not that he ever does. He has never helped us, and he refuses. He generally seems to have something against our rule, but is often of the extremely patient mind that, you know, time will carry on and a better ruler will come. An impassioned appeal to his better nature doesn't work, so emotion is not the way to get to him. Too far, yeah, 251. And what we want to do is get to the section 361. We're not going to look up the information on every city again. Oh god, Grey Dawn? Well, obviously, I think we'd ruled out Grey Dawn completely as an insane option. Yeah, Temple of Moraine, Temple of Nemesis, and Beastmen, yeah. Mental. 361, 371. Here's some trolls and yeah. That's the wrong section. Excellent. So going back to the errata, I have amended that this whole section is different. 361 271. Excellent. Um, 261. Right. Need more information, ready to make a choice. And so this then is where we left it last time. Upanishad is out of the question. And it's a trick to assassinate us and remove us from power by the one who is never our ally. Now, the Temple of Time assisted us in overthrowing the usurper, so they must have decided my rule would have been better for the city than his. But they're holding out for someone else who they believe will be even better to them, maybe, rather than the city, than we would. And if we manage to overcome that threat, will they just be like a sort of friendly rivalry and say, well, I see you survived that. We'll just keep watching and see how you handle the next one, and the next one, and the next one, until eventually you die and a new ruler emerges. So, let's see. You panic that it's too far away, and a trap. Grey Dawn contains a lot of evil people. Sorcerak, Shield Maidens, Chaotic Worshippers of Beatan, Druids of Ilexcunion, and the closest, Wargrave Abbess has the Assassin's Guild. The Spires of Foreshadowing has a small band of heroes who'd like to help us out, and that could be great, but as I said, that's like putting all your eggs in one basket. So I think we go to not Sorcerak, but Sorcerak, spelt ever so subtly differently. Oh, that looks bad. Mardol. Oh no, not again. The announcement of your imminent departure from Irsmuncast causes panic, but when you explain that you are going to find an ally who will help to protect the city, calm is restored. You declare a state of martial law and leave Force Lady Gwyneth in charge, cautioning her to watch Lackland carefully, but not to force any confrontation with the reverences of Nemesis. To Lackland, you say before you leave that you will fight for all the citizens, and that the supporters of Nemesis will not suffer under your rule. After all, his forces outnumber Gwyneth's almost 2-to-1. Antocitus is having a hard time stopping his mercenaries deserting, since there is precious little gold with which to pay them. In the interest of secrecy and quick movement, you decide to travel to Sorcerak alone. Here we are. Using as a staff your sceptre, which you have come to realize just by wishing to, you can use to influence people. You stride out. So if we'd avoided the troll and gone into the throne room, the sceptre would have guided us to a hidden compartment containing a piece of information that tells us that the sceptre can work on anyone who's not our direct enemies. Which again we could pretty much work out for ourselves. But finding that information would take so long, the troll would be upon us, and we would then be with our reduced penalty, with our reduced capabilities against the horrific beast. And taking the counterintuitive action and ignoring the guidance of a sceptre is the only way we'd get to avoid the troll fight entirely. The first leg of your journey takes you obliquely past the southern tip of the rift, the bowels of orb, that great chasm like a rotting seam on the fruit that is orb. Almost makes you think of the world wound in Galarian, doesn't it? And how many years earlier? Oh, a good 20 or 30, In the caverns and catacombs that riddle its cliffs and descend to the centre of orb dwells so much evil that the minds of men cannot even begin to comprehend. Somewhere far from the light of day lurk the cities of the old ones, and others from the age before the coming of man. You decide to give the chasm a wide berth, but your eagle eyes notice a minute black speck circling far above you in the clear sky. It is joined by a mate, and you can guess from the patterns that they fly that they are the carrion crows, as like as not sent to spy on you by dark elves from the rift. You press on, anxious not to waste time. Now, the crows are flying high in the sky. Not a lot we can do about it, other than just move on. Now, they might not know it's me. They just know it's someone leaving the city. Oh, God. Oh, no, that's a... Do you have a green emerald orb in place of your lost left eye? Yes, I do. Excellent. Well, that was a short section. Bloody hell. As night approaches, one of the carrion crows caws faintly and then lets itself be borne away by the wind in the direction of the rift. Long before the last light has gone, your acute sense of smell alerts you to something unnatural. All is peculiarly still. The wind has changed, and the taint on the air is coming from the direction of the rift. The world goes a glassy green. For some reason, your brain is concentrating on the vision it receives from the emerald orb. You recoil in shock. Just a few paces away from you is a creature from your worst nightmares. Its body is like that of a six-legged mammoth from which flesh has wasted away. It has 3 heads, each totally different, and each overloaded with a fearsome array of tusks, fangs, and horns. I don't see a lot of horns in this illustration. You know what? Since I have another book within arm's reach with colour pictures, let's see how closely it's a pretty good likeness. This trunk rises a little higher and goes outside here without the tongue, or without that tongue becomes a tusk which does not reach behind the trunk. And then we get some trees and bushes down here and cloudy sky above. Very similar. And oddly, the shading on this portion of this trunk makes it seem further back in terms of perspective than this portion of the trunk, even though it's passing in front of it, which is weird. Truly the stuff of nightmares. Its shape shifts as if it moved by floating, its feet not quite in contact with the bare earth. Probably shouldn't try a throw then. You can see nothing through your natural eye. The creature is invisible to normal men. I would have been well shafted if I hadn't used the orb then. 3 misshapen serrated tongues slaver and saw at grotesquely calloused lips. Its intention to kill you cannot be mistaken. It towers high above you. Will you use the forked lightning strike, the cobra strike punch, or the winged horse kick? Look, even the authors realise that trying to persuade us to throw this thing would be a dumb idea. Right. Now. I have to ask which of these is going to leave me the most open to some kind of retaliation. Although we are in good health currently. So, Cobra Strike Punch is... Oh! So it's a jab. Rabbit Punch, almost. Lightning Strike Kick or Winged Horse Kick? Why are we being given the option of 2 kicks? Oh, that involves turning our back. Leaning away could be more defensive, but the possible lack of awareness as to what our opponent's doing, especially if it moves around to our blind side, essentially, could be a problem. Forked Lightning Kick is a 1-2 kick. The second kick being so high could leave us vulnerable. I'll try the Forked Lightning Kick for now and see how it goes. The monster appears not to notice your feint. It is trying to bite, gore, or rake you with each of its heads. You may not block as you try to dodge rather than defend yourself against it. Oh, great. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's 24 endurance. I'm calling in a force right now. As if we're going to miss. Defense against Forked Lightning Strike is 4, but our defense against it is also very low. So, 2d6 plus 2. An 8 is an absolute hit. 1d6 plus 2. 7, 14 damage knocks it down to 10. However, your defense against its three-pronged attack is only 6. If you survive, you may try the same move again. Oh dear God, no. Okay. Well, no modifier. 2 dice. Ow, it hurts. 8 points is not as bad as I expected. But that is pretty rough. Bizarrely, punches tend to lead to a higher defense on our part. So, we may try the same move again. Try the winged no. Or the Cobra Strike Punch, which could just get us killed as it involves getting so close. But let's find out. If you have the skill of Yubi Jutsu, then you took a very different choice when playing Book 3. Otherwise, you decide to smash one of the heads between the eyes as hard as you can. Oh my God. Cannot block all of it. Yeah. Oh, no. You can only dodge for you... And you can only dodge. So, yeah. Shouldn't have chosen this one. Bugger. Well, its defense is 3. We will go inner force. And I didn't mark that down. We're going to run out rapidly, aren't we? Okay. Oh, for fuck's sake. 2 points of damage. We're in trouble, obviously. There will be a retaliation. That is a 4. That's lower than a 5. I'll go for the winged horse kick and see how that looks for our defense. Since we seem to have... Oh, so just kick it, yeah. There is little point in using finesse against this monster. The winged horse kick will do as well as any other, you guess, as you drive your heel at the nearest snapping head with bone-crushing force. Because we can block this one. Okay. Inner force will pretty much guarantee us the kill, though, because if we get hit again, it only needs to roll a 9. Wait, 2 dice plus 3. Not 3 dice plus 3. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's just kick it then. No inner force use. That's a hit. 1d6 plus 2 is 5 damage. Drops it to 3 endurance points. It will counter, and we can block this one. A 5 will miss, bizarrely, so we'll do the same kick again. A 5 does beat its defense of 4, and whatever we roll on a d6 plus 2, we're going to get the 3 points required for the kill. Oh, it's clear not close, that's why. Right, okay. However, we are now so low on inner force. You call your challenge... Wait. That's the wrong section. Well, bugger. Hang on. Errata. Please note that for paragraphs 213, 263 and 283, if you win against the spawn of a rift, you should turn next to paragraph 323. Saves some awkward backtracking. The grey skin bulges where the three necks meet, high up on the beast's body, as if there were an important nerve centre buried just beneath it. Your Cobra Strike punch hits home and your fingers sink into the surprising soft flap of skin. Sink into a surprisingly soft flap of skin. The monster convulses and collapses to the ground at your feet. Though invisible, its pulse can be felt, and it weakens gradually, then stops altogether. But it's not invisible because I can see it, so... Hang on. $323. Okay. Still says though invisible there. Let's try 283. Okay, there's no alternative section for that's fine. You decide to leave the corpse for the ants that will detect it by smell alone and continue on your way. This unnatural creature is a creature of the darkness, much likely a pet of the old ones, you surmise. And we are lucky to have walked away from it. That is a hideous, horrific creature. You have not gone much further when a new threat presents itself. 3 giant crows, each large enough to bear a man, carry 3 figures towards you. Your excellent vision, not of the green world of the plains, as seen through the orb. Your excellent vision, not of the green world of the plains as seen through the orb, for these are natural beings, allows you to tell at a distance that they are dark elves, probably spellcasters, for they carry only short stabbing swords and wear no armour. You decide to take a stand between a gaunt tree that has been struck by lightning and a pier of naked rock. The crows glide clumsily to the ground, and the elf riders dismount at 3 corners of a triangle, of which you form the centre. Each wears a strange purple headdress with a bloated green spider perched on top. They are instantly recognizable as worshippers of Nolak, the supreme queen that rules in malicious envy. Each places a small purple executioner spider on the ground before them. The spiders are no bigger than a man's thumbnail, yet their bite kills a horse in seconds. Each casts a spell upon the spiders, and then all 3 chant musically in unison your name, Avenger. You have been named as the one the spiders must attack. Either we are on the correct path here, or we really should have chosen to go to the Spires of Foreshadowing instead. This is probably going to be lethal, as we only have 1 point of inner force left. Okay. All around the rock and the tree is bare, burnt earth. The spiders can scuttle quickly across the ground, and it is unlikely that you can escape from the triangle, for you will be bitten. Will you try to kill them at a distance with your throwing stars? I don't have enough. Hurl a shuriken at one of the dark elves. I think this may be the idea. Climb the tree, spiders can climb. Feign death behind the pier of rock. We do not have the skill of feigning death. And the spiders have been compelled to bite us anyway. If you have immunity to poisons... Oh wait, let's check. We do have immunity to poisons! Well, isn't that fortunate? Wow! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... This must have been one of our first skills in Book 1. Before we added climbing in Book 2. Wow, that just... Theoretically, if this is like some kind of magical super venom that will just get us anyway, then we're shafted. However, let's just see where this goes. You may have cause to thank Quan that you have over the years of your training ingested small quantities of certain poisons until you became immune to them. One of these was the venom of the executioner spider, but this was so virulent that you could never take more than a diluted droplet without falling unconscious. Make a note of the number 225, and if you are bitten by only a single spider, turn to that paragraph. Now turn to 373 and make your choice. This implies we may be bitten by more than one spider. So presumably 2 spider bites will kill us. And it will be something like, you're lucky you have survived, but you won't be able to do it again. Or you're so badly hurt, you kind of feign dead and they... Better hope the other spiders don't bite you. Right. So I'm thinking... chuck a throwing star at one of the dark elves or at one of the spiders. We don't have enough to throw at all 3 spiders. And if each of them is linked to only one spider, I will throw it at the dark elf. It's an auto kill! Haha! Your shuriken flashes through the air, but your target breathes a spell of transmutation and the throwing star becomes a feather that flutters harmlessly to the ground. Would they do that for the spiders as well? With a shock, you realise you have lost sight of the position of two of the spiders. You look around warily, but one of them crawls under a stone nearby and, as you step back towards it, rushes out and sinks tiny fangs into your heel. The poison courses through your veins and death is swift. Now Honoric and the forces of the Rift will carve up the fate of Irsmuncast, but we can go to section 225! Because it might not quite be an auto-kill. The poison courses through your veins, but your immunity to poisons lessens the effect of the venom of the Executioner Spider. You lose 8 endurance points. Ow! Let's apply that right now. Also, we will mark off our throwing star. And we're down to 4 endurance, and it's probably not over yet. You lose 8 endurance, however, before you have smashed the last of the spiders to a messy pulp. So, all 3 spiders. If you are still alive, you can hardly believe your eyes when the Dark Elves remount the giant carrion crows, which then flap away into the gathering dusk that seems to flow out of the rift like a black mist. Woo. Okay. Too much old school get the squishy caster there in my mind, I think. You carry on into the night, not resting until mid-morning the next day. When you awake a few hours later, the crows are wheeling far above your head once more. If you're making for Sorcerak, you must turn east. If you're making for Grey Dawn, you head on due south. In either case, you have a long journey to make through rough wilderness, and the crows are watching you. We are heading to Sorcerak. Interestingly, then, it seems both journeys may take us in this direction. Wargrave Abbas is probably an auto-kill because you arrive and the assassins get you. I'm feeling we may not get much healing before our next fight. Your stealth and such woodcraft as you have, in particular your skills as a tracker, are put to good use as you turn eastwards through the wilderness. Several times you almost run into warbands of orcs returning from raiding across the plain of the inner sea. Evidently Irsmuncast is not the only city that suffers at the hands of the spawn of the rift. You are still 2 days out of Sorcerak, skirting the deeping woods, when a party of 20 riders emerges from the forest and gallops towards you. You are relieved to see that they carry the familiar lozenge-shaped shields of followers of Dharma. It is a patrol from the city of Sorcerak. Why does this remind me of Talisman of Death? And you notice, in that 2-day journey, we haven't recovered any health yet. I'm going to do something. Oh, what section was that? That was 235, wasn't it? I want to check if there's healing built into the new book. At that section. 230. Nope, no healing. You decide to tell them no more than that you are travelling to Sorcerak and they lend you a reserve mount. Many are curious about your glowing green orb of an eye, but they suppress their curiosity when you pretend that you are sensitive about it. You learn much on the journey. There is no one ruler of Sorcerak. It is a republic. Oh dear, we'll have to... That means voting to make decisions, which could be a real problem. Because time is of the essence. 100 prodmories, each chosen by the roll of the populace, sit in a council called the Bool, where decisions of state are made. The followers of Beatan hold a few votes, more than either Dharma or the nature god's followers. It seems you will have to make a speech in the Bool. And they may observe how badly fucked up I am, and full of spider venom. The city of Sorcerak lies on the banks of the beautiful blue waters of the Ebune River, amid richly fertile fields. Everywhere flowers blossom, and there are clouds of many-hued butterflies in the meadows. You are escorted through the city gates into the beautiful city of gardens. Many of the buildings of the city have been built out of many different types of stone of many colours. Most are covered in a drapery of flowery creepers, clematis, ras, glory, red ivy, and widowfoil. Windowfoil sounds like, tinfoil from a kitchen, like tacked up over a window in some desperate hope to keep the radiation out in some post-apocalyptic hellhole. You are taken to the city hall, in which is the Hall of Governance, where the Bool meets. Scribes fire a number of questions at you, writing all the time with ostentatious flourishes of their quills. Their version of the common tongue is at first difficult to understand, but with practice this improves. At length you are called upon to address the Bool. That's a lot of skinheads. They're probably the worshippers of Beatan or the druids. Wouldn't make sense for the druids to be bald, though. You look around at the 100 prodmories as you nervously try to decide what to say and in what manner to say it. The sceptre at your side lends you confidence. They are not my enemies. Therefore the sceptre can persuade them all to follow me to the ends of the earth if need be. The people seated in the tiered pews of the Oval Hall could hardly look more different from one another. Many proclaim the deity they serve through their dress. The followers of Beatan are unmistakable. They are spread evenly throughout the hall, but all wear the badge of the five-spoked wheel of myriad possibility. Seated opposite you is a body of men and women who wear the sword and lozenge-shaped shield of Dharma. On their right is a group of strange-looking men clad in greens and browns, each wearing a sprig of oak in their hair. You guess them to be the followers of Ilex Cuneon, the god of animals and plants. Behind them you are dismayed to note 15 or so black whirlpool badges, and next to these a number of purple and green spiders. Sorcerak has its share of evildoers too. Fate and Toramalku the Slayer are also represented, and there are 6 young priestesses bearing the symbol of a crescent moon, but the identity of their god or goddess eludes you. They are a mixed audience indeed. There will be no secrecy here in Bool. If you are hideously scarred as a result of tearing the emerald orb from your eye, then you have not been paying much attention to this playthrough. Otherwise, will you tell them of your father and ask them to honour his memory by granting troops for your campaign? Make much of the evil of the Legion of the Sword of Doom, or invoke the power of the sceptre as you describe the justice of your cause. there are worshippers of Nemesis and... Ooh. Tora Malkuva Slayer hates the Legion of the Sword of Doom. Who was the other god? The Spider Goddess. I think the Spider Goddess is the giant spider at the end of Book 6 and beginning of Book 7. Now, part of me wonders, is this a single one-off choice? Or is this a multi-step 3 or 4 parts of the speech, and this is just choosing our first part of it? Because opening with an appeal, look, we're asking you to go and save the city that was founded by a son of your city, a famous son of your city who became a king. They've been protecting the world from the bowels of orb. This sounds good as an opener, but should it be our main appeal? Invoking the sceptre, if they... It depends, right? Make much of the evil of the Legion of the Sword of Doom. Okay, so this is saying, you know what, he was a good guy, why don't you come return the favour, come help him out. That could be a bit weak. This would get the attention of the followers of Tora Malkuva Slayer. Fate, the Fate's heroes, so followers of Fate may be interested in trying to maintain some sort of natural order on the orb. Invoke the power of the sceptre. It wouldn't have worked against the orcs earlier. There are some here who are morally opposed to me, but are not necessarily outright enemies. I'm going to use the power of the sceptre and see how that goes. Soon after you begin your speech, which is an honest one summarizing the difficult position you find yourself in as Overlord of Irsmuncast and your hopes and aspirations, you invoke the friendly power of the sceptre. Your charisma is subtly increased, and your voice carries a compelling ring of truth and understanding. Looking around, you can see that your actions have polarized the feeling of the Bool. The followers of Nemesis and Nulak, the Spider Queen, scowl at you with ill-concealed distaste. Others seem receptive to your words, but it may be that some of the Prodmorees have detected your use of magic. At length your speech is done, and you sit down to loud applause and some hissing. I think one of those 3 options may be the auto-kill that got removed to make way for the eye at the banquet. After you've finished speaking, there is an energetic debate. One of the followers of Dharma's says that yours is a just and noble cause and calls upon the followers of Beatan to vote with her and become your ally. The followers of Beatan appear to be divided, and the followers of the nature god indifferent. Those of Nemesis claim that to send forces to your aid would leave the city exposed to an attack by the spawn of the rift. Suddenly, a priestess of Nulak, the supreme queen who rules in malicious envy and whose touch is poison, stands up and denounces you as a trickster who uses magic to beguile the members of the Bool. Will you admit that you have used the power of the sceptre, or ignore her, saying instead that you are also in the middle of a war with the spawn of the rift? Or say that you will promise under threat of a dire curse to come to their aid if they are ever attacked. So, admitting that we have used the power of the sceptre is an honest thing to do. the good people will appreciate it, but the bad ones may just murder us. And I think we've seen Section 237 recently in the reprint. No, we have not. Ignoring her and failing to acknowledge her challenge and saying, look, we're fighting the spawn of the rift as well. I think the third one. Place a dire curse on me, and if your city's ever under attack, I will come and defend you. Right? This is forming an alliance. And it's showing how serious I am about this. So I'm going with that. Who would believe the word of a trickster? Cries a follower of Nemesis. The followers of Dharma turn away from you. Only the followers of Beatan seem unperturbed, and one argues that the facts remain as they are stated. But the vote goes heavily against you. Obuda Varhegien, the leader of the Bool, says that you will find no alliance with the people of Serakube. You return forthwith to see to the defense of Irsmuncast, but when Sorcerak attacks, your forces are overwhelmed and you die defending the walls. It would seem I chose poorly. It would also seem that the fight against the monster is a really nasty one, so I'm going to not save that and see at what point I saved it earlier, if any. Full health, 3 ninja stars. Beginning of the session. Okay. So we go back to section... Where the hell is this horrific monster? As that is likely to be our next save point. And what a horrible monster it was. The fight against the many-tusked, multi-headed mammoth creature is, and with its many legs too, is dangerous enough to go wrong with bad dice rolls. I'm just not seeing it. How bizarre. It's obviously not this. That's the troll. It's not that. There's a mind flare. It was on the left-hand page. Is that it? That's it. Okay. We can get back to section 203 with minimal to no dice rolling. And ow, how nasty that was. Right, in that case, I'm going to end this episode here. I hope you've all enjoyed this one. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now, though, and cheerio, everyone. See you all soon.